Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's Facebook Live. I am so excited to be here with you all. And I am joined by one of my amazing colleagues and my boss, Eric Dowdy. So I'll do a quick intro of myself and I will let Eric introduce himself as well. My name is Sharon Nina. I am the Director of Public Policy and Advocacy here at the Alzheimer's Association in the California Southland chapter. And Eric, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure, yeah. Welcome everyone, and thank you, Nina. So my name is Eric Dowdy. I'm Vice President of Public Policy for California. So I oversee our policy and advocacy work in this state. So I'm very happy to be joining you today.
Yes, and we are the two people who have the pleasure of doing this Facebook Live on a really hopeful week. There's been a lot of big news for Alzheimer's and dementia research and Alzheimer's and dementia treatments. So we're really excited to be talking about it. We're going to dive right in to the big news. If you have been following the news at all over the last couple of days, I'm sure you've seen the latest update on Alzheimer's treatment. But if you haven't, I get to be the one that breaks it to you today, and hopefully we all get to celebrate together. So the FDA, the US FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration, granted full and traditional approval for an Alzheimer's treatment called Leqembi. You also may have heard of it as lecanemab. And this is the second treatment of Alzheimer's that has received FDA approval. The first was last year, a drug called aducanumab, also marketed as Aduhelm, and that one received accelerated approval, and that was early in the year in 2022. So this is a new space for us. We're really excited. And Eric, if you want to kind of tell folks what that all means.
Yeah, this is really a time where you should be using our little emojis and celebratory icons if we could on Facebook. But I think what this really does mean is that we are entering an era of treatment, which we had not been able to say for a very long time. So while Leqembi is not a cure, and I think we should stress that, it does give treatment options to more than 360,000 people with early stage dementia or Alzheimer's. So you can have more time, and that's kind of what we've been talking about, the ability to have more time under these new therapies that we're seeing.
And can you go a little bit deeper into the folks who would be qualified for this drug? Because it is limited in scope in terms of who can take this drug and who this drug is meant for. So if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a doctor. I do know that it's a very narrow focus on who can qualify for the treatment. So it's people with early stage Alzheimer's or mild cognitive impairment. So those are the ideal candidates. There are some parameters around once you do get the diagnosis, that there are some ways that the therapy will be monitored. So there's a lot more to it than just what we're able to talk about here on Facebook, but it's really targeting people at the early stage of the disease. So it makes getting a diagnosis very, very important. So if you're able to do that, see your healthcare provider.
Thanks so much for sharing that, Eric. And anybody who wants to learn a little bit more information about this new drug that has received the FDA approval, Leqembi, you can learn about potential side effects, access to it, and a lot more on our website, alz.org. It'll be right on the homepage where we're talking about it. Every aspect of this organization is talking about it right now. So it's right there on the homepage, and my colleagues are going to be putting the link in the chat box right now, so you'll be able to see it. But it's really easy, alz.org. And while I'm on the subject of resources that we have available, I also want to uplift our Alzheimer's Association 24/7 helpline. This is truly 24/7, 365 days a year. We have folks who are able to help you in more than 200 languages. And the number for that helpline is on the screen right now. And I'm also going to read it out for folks. That's 800-272 3900. Again, that's 800-272-3900. You'll see that on the screen right now. And if you visit our website, alz.org, you'll also be able to find that helpline information. And really, you should call this number if you have any questions at all, or if you really just need to talk to somebody about the situation. I want to go into a little bit of the technical side of it right now, and then we'll shift over into a further discussion on this issue. But as I mentioned earlier, we had a drug approved last year through the FDA's accelerated approval process. That was aducanumab. And then the drug we're talking about today, Leqembi, received the full traditional approval process. So I'm not an FDA employee. I'm not a professional of drug approval or any of the drug administration stuff, but I'm going to give a really brief overview on what the difference between the accelerated and the traditional approval process is. And by brief, I mean like one sentence. So the accelerated approval process, it allows for earlier access to drugs and biologics, medication essentially, and it's based on initial evidence of safety and effectiveness of this drug or biologic. And the difference between that and the traditional approval is that the traditional approval is a deeper level. So if the confirmatory trials show that the drug actually provides that clinical benefit, then the FDA will move through that traditional approval process for the drug or the biologic. So that accelerated approval is really for that early access for some of these really critical drugs. And we can't talk about drug access without talking about the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, because so many folks rely on the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid to provide the financial support to get access to these treatments, whether it be an Alzheimer's or dementia treatment or anything. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid play an important role in all of that medication and treatment realm. So we're also really happy to announce there's a lot of news coming down all at once, but we're also really happy to announce that earlier this month, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid did announce that they would be providing coverage for this new Alzheimer's treatment, Leqembi, that just received this traditional full approval from the FDA. So my colleagues are going to drop a link in the chat that gives a little bit more information, a little bit more details about what this Medicare and Medicaid coverage looks like. But I would really love it, Eric, if you could kind of talk through like how we got here, because it was a full team effort to get to this point, and there were folks from across the country engaged in it. So definitely tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's been a long road since CMS initially announced that it wouldn't cover this class of therapy. So all kind of kicked off with a rally at the White House this spring. So once we heard the news that the therapy wasn't going to be covered, it was really all hands on deck, and all of our advocates across the country mobilized. And we held legislative meetings with members of Congress throughout the last 3 months. We had rallies in every state, including here in LA. We rallied at the federal building. We had a rally in Northern California at the CMS building. Many people turned out in force, all in purple. We call it the Purple Wave, to have CMS reverse their decision. So, and we are so thankful for those people who took time out of their schedules and to show up at the rallies. We know some of this was very last minute, very hastily done because we had such a very tight timeline, but people showed up and it was a really worthwhile effort. So we had the rallies, and I really can't say enough about the folks that turned out. It was just an amazing showing, and we really attribute that to the ultimate decision that we got just a few days ago.
Absolutely. And tell folks what's next. Like what are we looking towards the future?
Yeah, so we still have a lot of encouraging news in the wings. The next therapy that we're looking at is called donanemab, and we should be hearing something on that next week at our Alzheimer's Association International Conference. and that's being held in Amsterdam, July 16th through the 20th. And just to let you know that you can access some information about the AAIC. I know they're in a different time zone, but there is a website that's maintained, and you can also get information on our website at alz.org/AAIC. So a lot more to come, more treatments even beyond what we are hearing from donanemab. And we're trying to really attack the disease from all angles. So we look forward to hearing those results next week. And just a reminder, AAIC, just in case you're not familiar with it, it is the largest international meeting dedicated to advancing dementia science, treatment, and care. So always good information. This time we're expecting some really great information. So you want to stay tuned.
And as much as Eric and I wish we were going to Amsterdam for this conference, we are very happy for our colleagues who are going to be going and bringing back some great information. And folks can also tune in virtually to many of the aspects of AAIC as well. So definitely check out that link in the chat. So I think, Eric, you can probably agree, like in a lot of the work we do from an advocacy perspective, there are battles that we fight and we don't always win them all. But when we have the opportunity to hold on to this bit of hope and to really celebrate some of this exciting news, we like to do it in a big way. So I really, really hope that folks who are watching this Facebook Live or watch it later, because I think you can do that on Facebook, you can watch it later, even if you weren't here live. I really hope that folks are taking a moment to let it sink in how truly exciting this news is for us, and really how truly exciting this year has been to bring so much hope to those who are with us fighting for a world without Alzheimer's and dementia, and really looking for an end to Alzheimer's and dementia. These are small steps forward, but they are really big accomplishments. So for anybody who has been affected, either personally in your family, or you know somebody who's been affected by it, or you're somebody who's living with the disease, this is really like a first ever step in the right direction for the treatment side of Alzheimer's and dementia. So it's amazing. We're so excited. And I want to just touch a little bit on some of the other work that we're doing that's not just researching the biology of Alzheimer's. We've talked a lot about the treatment side of it, which is invaluable. But we're also researching some of the lifestyle aspects that impact Alzheimer's and what we can do on a daily basis to protect our own brain health. And so my colleagues are going to put a link in the chat, and it is a really broken down version of this, but the 10 ways to love your brain. And it really looks into like lifestyle interventions, looking at diet and exercise, sleep, cognitive exercise. It's looking at the 10 ways that folks that you love, yourself, your family, your colleagues, anybody in your sphere can practice that good brain health, those like good brain health steps and that good brain health practicing together every single day to try to protect your own brain. And again, as always, our 24/7 helpline is always available. We are 365 days a year, 24/7. It's always staffed. There will always be somebody on the other line to help you. And we offer it in over 200 different languages. So we really, really want this to be an accessible way for folks to ask questions, and hopefully get them answered or be directed to the right place to get those answers. And then check out our website, alz.org, tons of more information about the treatment, about the lifestyle factors, about what we're doing, about AAIC. So definitely check it out. And then I'm going to let Eric do a shameless plug for getting involved with our team on the advocacy side.
Great, thanks, Nina. Yeah, it's a shameless plug. We need advocates, please. We wouldn't get these great results without all the people behind the effort, and we make it really easy to sign up. So to become an advocate, just go to alz.org/advocacy. The link is in the chat, and we will take it from there. We'll contact you and tell you how to get connected with the right people. Also, we are entering what we call walk season. So the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's happens in the fall. Encourage you to look at your local calendar where you might find a local walk. You can find that in the links in the chat as well. But we'd love to have you join the fight and help us make good change in this space.
Thanks so much. So I think that's all we have for everybody today on this Facebook Live. Thank you so much for joining us. Eric, thank you so much for joining me. Please check out the chat box for those links and bookmark them on your computer so you can go back to them. Join us for one of the local walks. We have tons of them happening across the region. If you're watching this from a different state outside of California, we have them all over the country. And we'll also be doing a similar update to this in Spanish on July 27th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. It will not be Eric or I doing it. Our amazing colleagues are going to be running this. And it'll be a similar update, like I mentioned, on all of this treatment work and all the exciting news we have. Again, that's July 27th at 1 p.m. Pacific time, and it will be in Spanish. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I feel really hopeful in this moment, and I hope you do too, for a future without Alzheimer's and dementia. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.